Well, for various reasons, none of them bad. The teeny house porch progress is pretty much, it wasn't much this week, so I don't have enough video to do anything with that. And I've been working on the truckster a little bit off and on for the last few weeks, and I don't have enough video to make that a decent video. And I'm building a bed for the bottom floor of the teeny house, and it's not quite finished, so I can't do that video. And next week's going to be just as bad, and the week after maybe also just as bad. So I cobbled together some video of making my trails. It's probably going to be boring to most everybody, but it's what I had the most video of. So here it is, and hopefully at least some of it will make sense to you guys that are watching. One of my long-term projects at the property is to remove the invasive Chinese tallow tree or popcorn tree. They're not native. They grow much faster than all the native trees, and they will take over. The animals can't eat them. It's I don't know if it's poisonous is the right word, but nobody uses it for foliage, and they're just a mess. So when I'm not doing anything, I walk through the woods and cut down trees, these tallow trees, and poison the stumps, and I'll probably be doing that for the rest of my life, although I think I'm making a dent in them.
I'm doing something I haven't done before. I'm using my Strava app on my phone. It's the running app I usually use on my watch. Oh, walked right into a big old spider. So I'm leaving my yard and I want to map out the trails I've made. But for two reasons. One, I just want to map them out. And two, I have a big loop trail that I made with the rental hoe earlier in the summer. And I have the dead end trail where I made it with David's traco and got stuck and backed out. And I think I can connect the two together. I think they're fairly close, but you really can't see when you get up in those trees. So that's my goal here. I'm gonna Strava this out, and I think I'm okay recording while I'm Stravaing. I think they will coexist together. So this first trail that we're on was a trail already, and the first part didn't really need anything. The second part was really overgrown, but it looks like they had made the trail with a bulldozer. So there was a windrow on the left side. It was like they came and they shoved the trees and flattened the dirt. There's a natural hill on this side all the way till I turned to the south. So I tried to grab as much of that dirt as I could and put it on the trail. Now from about here, the trail was really overgrown, but that little windrow I could tell where the old trail was. So it was a big help. And whenever I get a chance, I reach out with a bucket and dig up popcorn trees because they're invasive. But anyway, when I got to about here and I could see these three big tall pine trees, I knew it was time to turn right, try to head toward a clearing that Colin made. That's when you get into this real thick stuff, which looked like this before I started, or this. And you can't just get the machine and plow through it. If you do, you're going to probably encase yourself in thorn vines in the cab, and you're not going to be able to get out of the cab. You're going to have to call 911 because everything is vines and every vine has thorns. Or you're going to get your teeth knocked out by a sapling because they're real springy. So they'll push out the way and then they'll slap back. Or you're going to get in a situation where you try to back up and you can't back up because one of the saplings wants to come in the cab with you because it's leaning over, but it's not broken. So what you got to do is put the bucket out in front of you. Like, remember back when you were a little kid and you're in a dark room and you think there's somebody else in there. So you just kind of like waving your arm up, down, left, right, circles, trying to touch things. Well, you do that with the bucket, and that you try to rip all the vines down, and then the saplings, just scoop them up and throw them to the side. The hard part is when you run out of room to throw them. There's no big trees where I'm making these trails. These are all saplings, so they scoop up real easy. You You just got to get them out of your way. So this is the first trail. It just goes to the back of Colin's clearing where he's going to put his camper. I guess he's probably going to buy a camper and set it out here. Second trail is on the other side of the road. This is the beginning of the long trail I made with the rental hoe earlier in the summer. This was super dense in here. This was a challenge because you can pick up the trees, but you get to a point where there's nowhere to put them. They keep coming back on the trail with you. But this is a good trail. It gets kind of wet in the beginning. I mean, in the middle. We'll go through the wet area of our property, which is what my goal for the next few years will be, to get it to drain better and plant some different kind of hardwoods other than just pines and Chinese talbot trees. Now we're in the great, I don't know what you call it, plains. We don't have big trees, although we've got plenty of pine trees. I guess it's just taking them a while to grow. But it's really wet. Like when that 3 weeks of rain came by a few weeks ago, you couldn't walk down this trail without getting water in your boots. Well, I got shorty boots, but some of these spots are really low. I love these banana spider webs. They're like, I don't know if you can see it, they're perfectly symmetrical. And then in the middle, they always do their little zigzag deal. He's there, he don't want to move. Coming up to the end of the loop trail, and this is where the hornet nest was. This morning I threw a couple of dirt clods on it and I didn't see any action. I may do it one more time before I come through here with the track hoe. So I was in here pulling out all these vines and stuff from around this tree, and that's when all hell broke loose. Yep, they're gone. Whew, thank goodness. Okay, so when I get up here to the main road, or our road, I'm gonna get on the track hoe. I'm gonna drive to the back where I started making a north-south trail and I got stuck. I'm gonna go back to the spot where I got stuck and go east, try to connect that trail into this trail. And I don't think I'll be on the lookout, but I don't think I'll get into mush like I did before. And plus it hadn't rained in quite a while.
So this is the map of the big trail from my Strava program. You see that big concave part? That's where it goes around the swampy area that never dries out. So we won't be able to use that area as trails, but it's very pretty in its own way.
The start of the trail I cut with this track hoe, and at the end of this trail is where I got stuck, but I made a loop, and to get out I didn't come back the same way through the mush, and it seemed to be drier, so we're gonna go check that out. So right up ahead, right around the corner, is where I got in that low spot and got stuck, and I didn't come back out this way. I made a loop and I came out this way, and this is much higher. So my goal is to tie this trail into the big loop trail that I mapped earlier, and hopefully I can figure out from Strava which way to go when I get up in here. So I'm back to the scene of the crime. That's where I got stuck. That's all my carnage. And according to the little drawing on Strava, I think I need to go due east, which is heading right into the sun. And I think the first little bit will be heavily forested, and then I'm going to get out into that open area. So we're going to go straight for the sun. At least it'll give me a direction to go. And it's going to take a while because it's pretty lush.
This is what I see on my phone when I look at the Strava app, and the little dot is me, and I check it every now and then to make sure I'm kind of going in the right direction, and I'm getting closer all the time.
Well, according to my Strava map, I'm getting very close, but I can't see more than 5 feet in front of me on the trail. It's just real slow go. It's not hard. You just got to dig up all these plants and push them to the side, creep ahead a few feet, and dig up some more. It's taking a while, but luckily it's super dry and hard. I don't have any concerns about getting stuck back here. Okay, here's the trail that I've been trying to get to. And there's a big old mud hole that I got in and I backed out of. So I think if I turn and cut the corner, I can get to the trail without getting stuck. I hope. This is the first piece of mud I've run into all day. It must be like a valley coming through here. I really got lucky with the weather when I borrowed my friend's track hoe. First 3 or 4 weeks, it was just rainy, wet. And I got stuck. You saw that. But I was able to see which way the water went in a lot of places. And then we're having 5 weeks of drought. So I was able to come and cut this little, I don't know what swale maybe, down into the swampy area, which is the lowest area up front. And this usually holds a foot of water, but it's dry now. But it never gets above about a foot of water. So I think it fills up a little bit and then drains down the road. So I was able to cut this little swale because typically it would be too wet to get the traco in here and it would get stuck, or I'd be scared it'd get stuck. But now it's dry as a bone. So I cut this little swale and I will be able to, with a longer pipe, this one's not long enough, put the pipe under my trail so I can have some drainage from the high side of the trail under the trail. And I have a couple of spots like this that I did. So this is kind of the wet area of our property, and the trees are not as healthy as some parts of the property. And this is trying to drain some of this. I know I'm not going to be able to drain 100% of it. But I can drain a lot of it, and the dirt that I get from digging the ditches, I can build up the trail. Because in the wet months, this trail is really wet. And you can just kind of tell by the type of grass. When you see this kind of grass, you know it's kind of low. But this drought recently has helped me out. So now we're kind of on the other side of that swampy area, which is now dry. So I was able to get in here and dig. It's not a very pretty swale, but it's a swale as low as that swampy area is. And I was able to put a culvert under my little trail. So sometime in the future, I can dig a ditch that way, or I can dig a ditch following the trail and use the material to build up the trail, and the water has a place to go. This area in here is 20 feet higher than the river, and we're not that far away, but the ground's not flat, and it just tends to sit in here. So we know from Google Earth, or we knew from Google Earth, that there's a substantial drainage ditch on the south side of the property. And we haven't been able to get to it, or we haven't taken the time. Well, when I got the traco stuck, I was trying to find it, but I was probably 200-300 yards further to the west. So I tried again just a week or so ago. I just came off our big loop, and I headed where I thought was in the right direction. And I made a trail. I'm just looking for and I could kind of tell I was going downhill. So it felt like I was doing the right thing. Although this is still pine tree, so it's not too wet in here. Boy, there's signs of deer everywhere. So I went straight across here thinking I was going in the right direction, and I ended up at the highway, so I had to come back and try again. So I came again, I tried again, and I think I found the ditch. This is super low. This is probably 10 feet lower than the surrounding area. I can't really follow it, it's too overgrown. But I believe this is the ditch that we see on Google Earth. And as I backed out, I dug a ditch. It may not be perfectly level, but over time it should level itself if it sees a lot of water. And I put some dirt on the right side, some dirt on the left side. I was trying not to dam. I was trying to make sure that the water coming out of the woods could get to this ditch. So I dug this ditch all the way back to our loop. And when I got to where I came in, this little trail where I came in, it looked wetter going this way. It was more of the grassy, wet stuff. So I just dug the trail and tried to stay where the wet, grassy stuff was, which is the natural low spot, naturally occurring low spot. And we dug and we dug. Now it's probably not totally to grade. There's probably goes some ups and downs. If we get a lot of water, the water will wash out the bumps. And it'll fill up the low spots with silt. If not, maybe next year I can get back in here with the traco and kind of monitor it and see if I need to touch some stuff up. But for now, since this is 1.5 feet lower than everything on both sides, we should get some drainage coming through here. I think, unless I'm like super off. And this is 10 feet lower than that ditch, big ditch, but I don't think it is. So I'm all the way to the main trail. The first trail we dug, first trail cleared, back with the rental hoe. And I put a culvert across. And from here, I can dig a ditch down the side of the trail. You see that grass, that means this is low. I can dig a ditch out to the middle of that area that holds water. I can dig a ditch that way, and we can have some pretty good drainage, and I can take all the dirt and improve our trail.